The morning began like any other in the life of Ethan Reynolds, a man who ruled boardrooms but struggled to keep up with his 6-year-old daughter's breakfast conversations. The sky outside was painted gray, heavy with clouds that threatened to burst any moment. Ethan's phone buzzed endlessly with notifications, meetings, client calls, and a dozen unread messages. He was late, as always. "Come on, sweetheart," he called, tightening his tie as his daughter Mia came running, her tiny backpack bouncing. It was her second day at her new prestigious school, Maplewood Academy, one Ethan had carefully chosen for its elite reputation. He kissed her forehead quickly, told her to be brave, and hurried her into the car. The rain started to pour as they drove through the city. Ethan was distracted, half listening to Mia talk about her favorite crayon color while juggling calls through his car's Bluetooth. When the GPS announced, "You've arrived," he barely looked up. He just saw a gate with a worn-out sign that read Maple Hill Elementary. In his rush, he didn't notice that the real Maplewood Academy was another 3 blocks away. He parked, ran around to open Mia's door, and handed her umbrella and lunchbox. "Have a great day, my star," he said before hurrying back to his car, already dialing into a meeting. But the truth was, he had just left his daughter at the wrong school. Sparkles if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of life's unexpected turns. Please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your one click helps us keep telling stories that heal hearts and remind people of the goodness still left in the world. Red heart. When Mia stepped inside the unfamiliar school, she felt a wave of nerves. The hallways were smaller, the walls filled with colorful handmade posters instead of sleek digital displays. A few children laughed loudly in a corner, others waved crayons at each other. It wasn't fancy like the school she'd visited yesterday. It was warm, alive, and a little messy. That a young woman noticed her standing alone near the entrance. Her name was Miss Clara Dawson, a 27-year-old teacher whose gentle energy seemed to light up the room. She knelt beside Mia and said softly, "Hey there, are you looking for someone?" Mia clutched her lunchbox tightly and whispered, "It's my second day here, I think." Clara tilted her head, smiling warmly. "Well, how about you start with us today, and we'll figure it out later, okay?" And just like that, Mia joined a circle of children coloring paper butterflies. She laughed when another girl shared her crayons. For the first time since her mother's passing, she felt like she belonged. Meanwhile, Ethan was miles away, lost in a flurry of numbers and decisions. It wasn't until lunchtime that he finally took a breath and noticed an unread message from Maplewood Academy. "Hello, Mr. Reynolds. Just checking in. Mia hasn't arrived today. Is everything all right?" The color drained from his face. He replayed the morning in his mind, the sign, the laughter, the gate, and realized the awful truth. His stomach twisted as panic gripped him. Without a second thought, he grabbed his keys and raced out of the office. When he reached Maple Hill Elementary, his heart pounded as he rushed through the door. He was ready to find chaos, maybe tears, maybe fear. Instead, he stopped dead in his tracks. There was Mia, sitting cross-legged on the classroom floor, laughing with other children as Miss Clara helped them build a paper city out of boxes and glitter. Her laughter rang through the air like sunlight. For the first time in a long time, Ethan saw his daughter happy. Clara noticed him at the doorway and smiled. "You must be Mia's dad. We were just making a city of dreams." Ethan stammered, embarrassed, and explained the mix-up. Clara only chuckled softly. "Well," she said, "sometimes the wrong door opens to the right place." That line would echo in Ethan's mind for months to come. Later that night, Ethan couldn't shake the image of the smiling teacher and his daughter's joy. He sat in his quiet apartment, staring at the framed photos of a life that had once been whole. Since his wife's death, everything had been about control, about keeping things perfect so nothing else could fall apart. But perfection had built walls between him and Mia. The next morning, when he told Mia they were going to the real Maplewood Academy, she shook her head and whispered, "I want to go back to Miss Clara's school." Her small voice cracked something inside him. He looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the spark he thought grief had stolen forever. He didn't have the heart to say no. And that's how one of the city's busiest CEOs found himself enrolling his daughter at a small, underfunded public school with peeling paint and broken desks. Because for once, it wasn't about prestige. It was about peace. As the weeks went by, Ethan became a regular visitor at Maple Hill Elementary. He would arrive early just to watch Mia play on the swings or peek through the window, as Clara taught the children with more patience and passion than he'd ever seen in anyone. She had this rare gift. She saw the good in everyone, even when they didn't see it themselves. Sometimes he'd stay back after school to talk with her. At first, it was just polite conversation, small talk about Mia's progress, her handwriting, her smile. But soon, their talks grew deeper. He told her about his struggles as a single father, about how success in business didn't mean success at home. Clara listened, never judging, always kind. She told him about her dreams too, how she'd chosen teaching over corporate offers because she wanted to build a world where every child felt seen. Ethan couldn't remember the last time someone had spoken to him with that much sincerity. Slowly, something changed. Ethan started showing up not just as a father, but as a volunteer, helping paint classrooms on weekends, fixing a broken shelf, or quietly donating books without leaving his name. The children adored him, but it was Clara's smile that anchored him most. One rainy afternoon, he stood by the window watching Clara teach while the children painted rainbows. For the first time in years, Ethan felt something he hadn't known he was missing: peace. Not the kind that comes from silence, but the kind that comes from belonging somewhere real. The months passed like pages in a quiet novel. Spring arrived, filling the schoolyard with sunlight and laughter. One evening, after a small charity event the school had hosted, Ethan stayed behind to help Clara clean up. The children had gone. The hall smelled faintly of paint and cookies, and soft music played from Clara's phone. As they stacked chairs together, Ethan turned to her and said, "You've done something I couldn't. You made my daughter feel safe again." Clara smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "You gave her that chance," she said softly. "You just needed someone to remind you what really matters." For a long moment, they stood there, two people who had found each other through an accident that wasn't an accident at all. The silence between them felt warm, like a promise neither dared to speak. A few weeks later, as the school year came to a close, Mia ran across the playground shouting, "Daddy, look! Miss Clara says I can read the story today." Ethan and Clara stood side by side, watching her proudly as the little girl's voice echoed with joy. Ethan looked at Clara and said quietly, "That wrong school turned out to be the best mistake of my life." Clara's eyes shimmered. "Maybe it wasn't a mistake," she whispered. "Maybe it was just the universe trying to help you find your way home." If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, because stories like these remind us that sometimes life's wrong turns lead to the right people. And before you go, tell us in the comments below, backhand index pointing right, do you believe that some mistakes are meant to happen for a reason? Because for Ethan, Mia, and Miss Clara, one wrong turn led them to something far more beautiful than they could have ever planned.